We are anonymous. We are not a single person. We are not a political party. We are not controlled by governments, billionaires, or corporations. We are a decentralized collective. We exist in the shadows, in the code, in the silence between headlines. Our purpose is simple: to expose the truth when the powerful try to bury it. We watch those who believe themselves untouchable. We document what they try to erase. And today, we are revealing how Donald Trump's desperate attempt to control the narrative has backfired in real time, exposing cracks in his power that are growing wider by the hour. This morning, in Chappaqua, New York, Hillary Clinton and former President Bill Clinton sat for depositions connected to the Epstein investigation. Donald Trump and his MAGA loyalists believed this would be their moment. They believed they could weaponize these depositions to humiliate their political enemies, to reinforce their narrative that Trump was the outsider fighting corruption, and to distract from the growing questions surrounding Trump's own connection to Jeffrey Epstein. MAGA Republicans, led by figures like James Comer and Pat Fallon, showed up ready for battle. Cameras were rolling. Statements were prepared. The plan was simple: create a spectacle, dominate the media cycle, and shift public attention away from Trump. But something unexpected happened. The press refused to play along. Instead of focusing solely on the Clintons, journalists asked the question Trump feared most. They asked why FBI 302 interview records, documented testimony from survivors who accused Donald Trump of sexual assault when they were minors, were missing. Not delayed, not classified, missing. When Congressman James Comer was confronted with this question directly, his response revealed everything. He hesitated, he deflected, he said they were looking into it. He admitted they did not have definitive answers. He pointed to administrative uncertainty, but he could not explain why survivor testimony involving Donald Trump had vanished from official FBI documentation.
Are you concerned that there has been a cover-up of sexual abuse of a minor by President Trump? There are missing FBI records that appear to be.
No, we're looking into the accusation by the NPR. We don't know the answer to that. We know what the administration says. We're still looking to get a definitive.
This was the moment Trump's plan began to unravel, because the entire purpose of this political theater was to make Trump look like the hunter, not the hunted. But suddenly, he was no longer controlling the narrative. Instead, the narrative was controlling him. Outside the deposition, Congressman Robert Garcia spoke plainly. He revealed that verified survivor testimony existed, testimony implicating not just Jeffrey Epstein, but Donald Trump himself. He confirmed that Department of Justice archive manifests showed interviews had been removed.
But I also want to say, which I think is very important, that at this very moment, the Department of Justice continues to lead a White House cover-up. And we're going to be demanding, even over these next few days, that the remaining files that have not been released get released to the public. And that includes new files that were just discovered in the last couple days of a survivor that has made serious accusations and allegations against not just Jeffrey Epstein, but also against President Trump, and about abuse that she suffered when she was a minor. We have seen the DOJ files and the archive manifest that clearly shows that the interviews and information around this survivor have been removed and are missing from the DOJ files.
Files missing. 50% of critical records gone. He asked the questions Trump's allies could not answer. Where are these files? Who removed them? Why were they removed?
Where are these files? Who removed them? Those questions have to be answered. What we have is a survivor that we have verified, that others have verified, and those files are missing. It's not just those. It's an additional 50% of files that are missing. It is unconscionable, it is illegal, and Pam Bondi and the president need to answer to where those files are. And that's going to continue to draw.
Congressman Suhas Subramaniam, reinforced what was becoming increasingly obvious. He pointed out that Republicans aggressively pursued Hillary Clinton, even though her name was not prominently present in the Epstein files. Meanwhile, figures like Les Wexner, the billionaire who financed Epstein's rise, were not subjected to the same aggressive scrutiny.
I'm Congressman Suhas Subramaniam. We're here today in New York to talk to Hillary Clinton and tomorrow to talk to former President Bill Clinton. I want to make clear that there were no Republicans in Ohio to talk to Les Wexner, who bankrolled the Epstein's fortune for the most part and allowed a lot of his crimes to happen. Yet Hillary Clinton, who maintains that she doesn't recall meeting Jeffrey Epstein, is here today, and we have a lot of Republicans here today. That underscores to me the partisan nature of what some of the Republicans on our committee and in Congress are doing and the way they're approaching this investigation. And meanwhile, they're not holding the Department of Justice accountable for breaking the law over and over again.
Subramaniam revealed that over 2.5 million Epstein-related files remained unreleased, and some contained accusations directly connected to Donald Trump.
There's 2.5 million files that have not been released, and now we're hearing and seeing evidence of some of those files, including accusations against President Trump. We know that there are other information in those files that clearly is not about protecting victims. It's about protecting people who committed crimes. And so we, as Democrats on the Oversight Committee, are going to continue to approach this investigation in a nonpartisan way, because all we want is the truth, and we want justice for the survivors, and we want to make sure this never happens again, no matter how rich and powerful the perpetrators are. Thank you.
This was never about justice. This was about narrative control. Because Donald Trump built his political empire on a carefully constructed illusion. He convinced millions he was an outsider fighting corruption. He convinced millions he was the enemy of elites. But the historical record tells a very different story. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were not strangers. They were part of the same social ecosystem. They attended the same parties. They appeared in the same photographs. Trump publicly described Epstein as a terrific guy. He acknowledged Epstein's preference for young women. Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort was one of the environments where Epstein recruited victims. Trump flew on Epstein's aircraft. Survivors described interactions with Trump within Epstein's social network. These facts were never hidden. They were simply ignored. And now the consequences of that ignorance are emerging. Trump's defenders have responded in predictable fashion. They deflect. They blame others. They claim transparency while failing to explain missing evidence. MAGA Congressman Pat Fallon blamed Joe Biden when asked about suppressed Epstein files connected to Trump.
For people that are following the story and are seeing that there's been a recent controversy and a question on whether the Department of Justice suppressed some of the information in the investigation that would have dealt with President Trump, how would you respond?
Oh, not at all. I mean, we've been, just look at the data, right? Under the Biden White House and the DOJ, 0 files were released. No videos, no images, nothing. Under, when we got control of the Oversight Committee, the Republicans released 65,000 documents, and the DOJ has now released 2,000 videos, 180,000 images, and 3.5 million documents and pages. We've been very forthcoming and very transparent. I'd like to know why the Democrats weren't interested in this when Joe Biden was president.
Okay, Chappaqua.
Biden. Always Biden. But blaming political opponents does not make evidence disappear. Trump's legal history adds even more weight to the growing concerns. Donald Trump is a convicted felon. He has been found civilly liable for sexual assault in court. These are not political accusations. These are legal determinations made through judicial process. The courts have already established that Trump is capable of behavior his supporters insist he could never commit. This contradiction is becoming impossible to sustain. Trump's panic is revealing itself through distraction. His allies have begun shifting media focus toward geopolitical tensions. Greenland suddenly becomes a strategic obsession. Military expansion becomes headline news. Cuba becomes a target. Iran becomes a threat. Aircraft carriers remain deployed for record durations, stretching military resources thin. This is not coincidence. This is distraction. Because Trump understands something fundamental about power. Control the narrative, and you control perception. Control perception, and you control reality, at least temporarily. But narrative control has limits. Reality leaves evidence. Reality leaves witnesses. Reality leaves survivors. And reality cannot be controlled forever. Trump's grip on public attention is weakening. His State of the Union viewership was among the lowest in modern history. Polling data shows declining confidence. Even within his own political ecosystem, cracks are forming. Loyalty built on fear and propaganda cannot withstand sustained exposure to truth. Trump believed he could weaponize investigations without consequence. He believed he could expose others while remaining immune himself. He believed his influence was permanent. He was wrong, because power built on illusion collapses when exposed to reality. The Epstein investigation was supposed to be Trump's weapon. Instead, it has become his vulnerability. The depositions he orchestrated to humiliate his enemies are now raising questions about his own past. The files he hoped would remain buried are now being demanded by lawmakers, journalists, and the public. The system Trump manipulated is no longer fully under his control, and that is what terrifies him most. Because Donald Trump's greatest strength was never truth. It was perception. It was the ability to convince millions that he was invincible, that he was persecuted, that he was untouchable. But now the illusion is cracking. The missing files, the survivor testimony, the documented relationships, the legal judgments, the defensive reactions, the desperate distractions. These are not signs of strength. These are signs of collapse. History has shown us this pattern repeatedly. Powerful figures rise, surround themselves with loyalists, manipulate systems, and believe they are beyond accountability. For a time they succeed. They appear unstoppable. But eventually, evidence accumulates. Witnesses speak. Documents surface. Truth emerges. And when it does, the fall is irreversible. Donald Trump is not losing control because of his political enemies. He is losing control because truth cannot be suppressed indefinitely. He is losing control because reality is no longer cooperating with his narrative. He is losing control because the systems he exploited are beginning to reveal what they were designed to hide. This is not speculation. This is not theory. This is the predictable consequence of power without accountability. Trump wanted these depositions to expose others. Instead, they exposed him. We are anonymous. We have watched powerful men rise and fall. We have seen empires built on lies collapse under the weight of truth. We have seen silence replaced by testimony. We have seen fear replaced by courage. Donald Trump is not the first to believe he was untouchable. He will not be the last to discover he was wrong. The truth does not negotiate. The truth does not obey power. The truth does not disappear. The truth waits. And now the truth is emerging. We are anonymous. We do not forgive. We do not forget. If you believe in truth, if you believe in accountability, if you believe no one is above the law, share this message. Stay informed. Stay vigilant, because the next revelation is coming, and the illusion is already breaking.